Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We thank you all for taking time out from your Saturdays and time with family to attend this very unique and interesting broadcast. I would like to welcome today our guests, Darren Younger and Richard Butler, who are very happy. Hi, Richard. Hi, Darren.
Hi.
Thank you for thank you both for taking time out. I know it's late out there in Australia.
Well, it's only 6:30, so it's not that bad.
Oh, okay. I thought, Richard, post 5 p.m. on a Friday, it's very late in Australia, you know.
Very holiday. They like to go. They like to relax. The Australians, absolutely.
Right. So, without further ado, I would like to give a quick introduction to both Darren and Richard. Going with Darren first. Darren is the CEO of Bricklet, one of the leading Australian fractional ownership platforms. Darren's got a very diverse entrepreneurial experience. He's also the Chief Growth Officer of Lakiba Group, um, which is an incubator, and a hatchery for businesses. They've done very well by incubating and starting many businesses in Australia. Welcome, Darren, to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. I'd also like to introduce Richard Butler. Richard is a property developer, resort developer, and investor for many decades. He's got more than 40 years of experience in the Australia and Pacific resort markets. Richard has developed many fantastic subdivisions and lots, both in Australia, and his present focus is the very tiny country of Vanuatu. Richard, when did you first see Vanuatu, or when did you first head there?
2008, Roshan. I was invited to go over and talk to landowners or small resort owners and explain how the introduction of the strata title act would affect them and how they'd be able to sell their bungalows to investors. So that was 2008. Fell in love with the place within 15 minutes of being there. Most people do.
Cool. So Richard, Darren, the way I thought that we could do this is I thought we could take it in two parts. So in the first part, I thought we'll let Darren go, give a little bit of an overview of the Bricklets platform itself, because I think many people in India and in the Middle East, etc., where our viewers are coming from, may not be very familiar with Bricklets as a platform, though you're very well known in Australia. And then, as a case study, we will speak about Richard's development, which is, the Dungong Resort, and we can tell people more about it and the investment opportunities available there, etc. So, Darren, I'll first, I thought we could maybe take 10 minutes for you, Darren, to talk a little bit about fractional ownership itself, and then we can go to Richard, and then we can take questions. I'd like to tell everyone that you can please put your questions if you're viewing on Facebook, and you can just put in a comment, and that will come into the questions, and I will moderate the comments and then pose the question to either Darren or Richard. I would appreciate if in the comments you can address the person to whom the comment is for, or if it's for either of them. So Darren, over to you. Look forward to getting a quick overview of the Bricklet platform.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. Just I guess to start off with, the Bricklet platform has been around in Australia for almost 2 years now. So, we're gaining a lot of really good traction, and there's over $20 million worth of bricklets that have been sold through the platform. And effectively, how it works is that with bricklets, it's you're on title. So people that buy bricklets are actually on the property title, and this is a really exciting change for the way that fractional property ownership is now available. So, property in Australia has been growing and growing in price, and so we've been working with a number of property owners and developers. And in fact, Bricklet is backed by some of the biggest developers in Australia, companies that are called Mirvac, Stockland, also realestate.com.au are investors in Bricklet. And so, we've got some really good credibility in what we do. And the main reason for that is that as the prices continue to go up, it's more and more challenging for the audience, or for people to actually get into property, or to build a portfolio of property, because it's just becomes so expensive. And so Bricklet was all about trying to solve that challenge. And why I'm so excited about, what we're doing with Bricklet is that it's helping so many people, get into the property market and build those amazing portfolios of property. And, the feedback that we get from the clients has just been overwhelming. So, it's definitely working. How we keep it really, really simple as well. So, traditionally kind of buying property, there's a lot of, paperwork, there's legals, there's a lot of things that need to be done. So with Bricklets, we've automated a lot of that so that it's a really simple 3-step process for buying Bricklets. First of all, you log on and you create a username. So you're basically just creating a profile for yourself, and then doing an ID check. So when you want to buy Bricklets, you can just deposit money into your Bricklet wallet and then purchase the property. Everything else that happens around the chain, the land title and actually registering your name on the title, is all done automatically by the platform. So we've got a lot of we spent a lot of time and effort and building out a platform that automates that process, and so keeps it really, really simple. Also means that, at any point that you could sell your Bricklets at any time as well on the platform. So the marketplace, we've got a few thousand people now that are all active investors on the platform, and it's just growing day by day. So it's a new way of buying property. It's on title, and usually the price points anywhere from kind of $20,000, $30,000 per Bricklet. And I'm talking about Australian dollars, and it keeps it really affordable and really easy to do. So as far as the actual the Bricklet owners go, ongoing as well, you've got a Bricklet wallet that, as the rental returns come in every month, also that keeps it very streamlined. So it just gets deposited into your Bricklet wallet, and it keeps things really, really simple.
Okay, so sounds good, Darren. Now, Darren, just so that I can understand this better or clarify it for the benefit of our viewers, Australia, I think, was one of the first countries to have a really good strata title system. And as I understand it from your presentation, essentially the fractional owners all get on the title through the Bricklet platform.
Correct. Yeah, and that's definitely one of the fundamental differences between Bricklet and many other fractional platforms is that all the Bricklet owners are actually on the land title. The same, in Australia, and also will be the same in the Vanuatu projects as well. So we're working with the Vanuatu land titles office in the same way. So the Torrens title, which is what it's used, was invented in Australia, and is used is used in many countries around the world. And so it's that Torrens title that enables us to actually fragment what we call fragment the property down into smaller pieces, or fragment the title. So it means that if you own a Bricklet, you can actually do a land title search on that property and see your name on the title.
Got it. And Darren, how does the property get governed? Like, let's say, for instance, suppose I own a fraction, and I want to do I have influence on whether the property should be sold, or do I just sell my fraction on your market?
Yeah, you're just selling your fraction. So at any point you can sell your fractions, your Bricklets at any time, and so it will always stay on the platform. So it's not like you're selling the whole property at any point. As far as the management goes, I mean, each property is different. Richard will touch on a little bit about the management of the Vanuatu project. But the residential projects in Australia, they all have their different property managers. But the Bricklet owners, because you actually are on title and you're effectively a property owner, the platform also enables the ability for people, to have conversations and vote on things, so they can actually make decisions as well.
Right. So is that primarily used if, let's say, something needs to be upgraded, or there is some capital expenditure on the property? What do they typically vote for?
Yeah, so how it works kind of month on month is that the property managers, they act like asset managers, and so they will fund any of those ongoing expenses, and then when the rent comes in, or the rental income comes in, those expenses are then paid back. So it's kind of like a line of credit that the asset managers provide, or property managers provide, as being part of the Bricklet ecosystem.
Okay, great. And Darren, can you tell us a little bit about what's the procedure for international investors? to participate in Bricklet? I mean, what kind of permissions do they need, or do they just open up an account, things like that?
Yeah, it's exactly the same, for an Australian as it is for an international user on the platform. So becoming a member of Bricklet is really simple. Again, it's just logging onto the platform, creating a username, doing your ID check. So the only thing that we just need as part of that, obviously, is being an international buyer, is that a passport is essential in that kind of ID check part. And then, but there's nothing else that stops international buyers buying property or buying Bricklets in the Bricklet platform. The only difference with Australian property, and this is different to the Vanuatu property, and every country's slightly different, is that there's different rules around the tax and the fees that you pay as part of the purchase.
Okay, got it. So is there an additional stamp duty, or is there a foreign ownership tax?
Yeah, well, every country is different. So for Australian property, so if someone wants to buy Australian property, it means that there's additional stamp duty, but also there's an extra fee paid to what's called in Australia the Foreign Investment Review Board. So it's like an application fee. So again, it's a little bit different. There are some developments that are approved. That means that those fees are waived because the developer pays them. So there are good opportunities for international investors, but for the Vanuatu, it's different again. And I'll let Richard explain how that works and what those taxes are for when you're actually purchasing the Bricklets in Vanuatu.
Right. Darren, I noticed that, Bricklet has done many innovations. So you have a pay later model, you have a mortgage model. Can you touch upon a few of these?
Yeah, sure. Again, so the finance option's mainly for Australian residents. However, we do have a buy now, pay later option for the Vanuatu property, which is quite exciting. So it means that if you want to pay it off over an 18-month period, then that option is there available to people that want to. Basically, you pay 10% upfront of the amount of the Bricklet, and then it's 5% each month for 18 months.
Okay, exciting. Darren, you are unique in the sense that you have got two of the largest Australian property developers as investors, and now you have, pretty much one of Asia's largest real estate portal investors. So REA, I can classify them as that. They stretch across the globe. So they're very big in Singapore and the surrounding countries. They're also very big in India, and of course they own the largest portals in Australia. How have you been able to attract these kind of investors, and what value do the real estate developers add value, or have they been able to take some of their properties and bring it on the Bricklet platform?
Yeah, I mean the main, I guess the main reason that they're coming on as investors, especially for the property developers, is that they do see that as a future, because the prices are just going up and up. So if I give a simple example, let's say one of those developers, say for example Mirvac, would build a 100-apartment complex, right? So let's say the building's got 100 apartments. The challenge that they have now and kind of going in the future is that the price of those apartments are going up. So it limits the market opportunity. So if they took, let's say they wanted to sell 90 of those apartments in whole and took 10 of those and sold them in smaller pieces, then they've got a much bigger marketplace for that. And so they see that as a whole new channel to market. So being able to address a market that they haven't been able to address before.
Okay, got it. So I think here we can bring Richard in and have him talk a little bit about Vanuatu and the opportunity there specifically. Richard, are you there with us?
Yes, I certainly am. Thank you.
So Darren, I will take you off screen and we'll bring you back in towards the Q&A section.
Okay, great.
Hi, Richard. I'm just going to pull up some of your slides. Richard, first, can you just tell, because I think a lot of our audience would not be very familiar with Vanuatu as a country. So if you can give us a little bit of a perspective on Vanuatu, why you love it, why it's a great destination for tourism and real estate, etc.
Okay, fine. Well, first of all, Vanuatu is a independent nation. It's a republic. It received its republic in 1980, but prior to that, it was run by the British and the French, and it was British Commonwealth country. It still is a fully paid up member of the British Commonwealth. So we basically have English law courts. We have Westminster system government. The people are extremely friendly. They're Melanesian, very religious, and very respectful of their elders. It's a very safe place. It's actually been voted the happiest place in the world several times by Lonely Planet. One of the things that makes Vanuatu so attractive.
They have a beautiful video.
Sorry?
They have a very beautiful video. Vanuatu Tourism has a very beautiful video up on YouTube, which I think we will send to everyone. And it's truly paradise, you know.
It is. It was actually described as paradise on earth by our president in Europe recently. But average winter temperature 24 degrees, average summer temperature 28 degrees, rainfall of 65 to 80 inches a year. So it's always green. It's always, friendly and warm. And it has an amazing attraction for tourism. But it has been overlooked for many years because it never had the correct size airport tarmac, and they've just spent $70 million upgrading the tarmac. So the future of Vanuatu in the very near future, next 12, 24, 36 months, is for the very first time, long-haul planes coming into Vanuatu from places like Hong Kong, Singapore, Tokyo, even as far away as Hawaii and San Francisco. And this is, once we get the pandemic behind us, this is where we see the future there. But a beautiful place in the world, and 83 islands. It's an archipelago. Very, very friendly people, and a most welcoming government who's looking to attract investors from around the world. And they've put the welcome mat out.
Great. So Richard, I've got your slides up on screen. So maybe you just run us through quickly, maybe in 10 minutes through the Dungong Resort. And
yes,
then
sure.
we'll take some Q&A and bring Darren back in,
Sure. Well, Pacific Haven Resorts presents the Dungong Resort. We call it the Dugongs because we have them coming into the bays. And the picture above it is looking from the site across the bay at Tuma Bay, which is only 20 minutes drive from the airport, 15 minutes drive from downtown Port Vila. And it's the most beautiful ecotourism type location. As I said, we're only 20 minutes drive from the jet airport. Where we are is an area where there's a lot of development is actually underway and planned. There's about 5 or 6 resort developments around our area. Just on the outskirts of town, only 15 minutes, just off the main ring road that runs around the island, the main island of Port Vila. Port Vila only has a population around about 45,000, 50,000 people. But we get about 330,000 visitors a year coming in. What we've done with our particular project is that it's right on the waterfront, and it's in a position where we get absolute magnificent access to. It's sort of around the world. Our project is what they call a strata title project. And the government won't allow any more further strata titling outside of the town plan anymore. So we have a really unique site. We have the opportunity of up to 5 stages of development. The first stage is 23 bungalows, which we're being offered for sale. And, of course, under the Bricklets concept, which we're very pleased to have. And we're the first resort development in the South Pacific to actually offer Bricklets as well. I'm sure there's going to be many more because it makes it so affordable for people. And the Bricklet prices are down affordable at basically $15,330 odd for a garden 1-bedroom bungalow with a water view, and also for a waterfront bungalow, absolute waterfront bungalow, $20,000. So very affordable. And when you purchase, you have a 2% stamp duty and a 5% registration fee, which is divided by the 30 people or the 30 positions which you can actually have in the bungalow itself. So if you flip over to the next slide, you can actually see our seating. And one of the things we've done is we've actually had environmental approval and foreshore development approval, which we had the the foreshore management team out there just last week, giving us our final approval. We're building this magnificent sea deck, reaching right out over the top of the ocean into the bay, and this will allow our tourists and snorkelers and scuba divers to basically get direct access into the water, into the bay. And we're actually putting into the development an inclusion of an educational scuba diving academy, which I'll talk about again in a few moments as well. So 23 one-bedroom bungalows. Might go to the next slide. It'll give you a better idea as well of that's the main entrance coming in to the resort, and that's called a Nakamal roof, which is named after the chief's hut that they have in the villages in Vanuatu. And every night at 5 o'clock, the little people go to the chief's hut and they drink kava. And one of the great stories I always like saying to people is that when you go to the chief's hut at night, because these people are very friendly people in Vanuatu, you can't go into the chief's hut with any, I suppose the word is grievances. So if you're not happy with your neighbour, you can't go in the chief's hut and complain about him. They won't let you in there. They throw you out because you've got to leave everything at the door. You have to come in, drink kava, be friends again, and walk out the door, and everybody's happy. So I think one of the reasons they're happy is they drink kava every night at 5 o'clock. It's one of the strongest kavas in the world, as a matter of fact. And we're exporting it even well. As the property is concerned, if you, I'm having a bit of problem with my pictures coming through. Hopefully that you can hear me all right. There we go. Now I'm back now. Can you flip over to the next slide, Roshan?
Sure.
There we go. Now there's a picture showing where the locations are. We've got the 40-seater licensed restaurant going in with, it'll have 24 hours, 7 days a week security and management. You can see us there for the Scuba Divers Academy. There's also 2 swimming pools, and there's also the spa, health spa, poolside health spa as well. And the back of the land is elevated, so you're looking at water views over the whole property. So it's quite an exciting sort of place to be involved with. Now, that's actually stage 1. We've just only last week finalised the buyback of the existing piece of land from one of our investors so that we can actually move into what we call stage 2, which is an extra 17 bungalows will be coming on board as well. And as everybody who knows that's in real estate, as you do a stage development, the value of your properties increase as you open up the next stage. And we can see this happening. We actually have the availability there of another 4 stages over and above these 2 stages that you can see there at the moment. The first stage, 23, 1, and the 3 commercial sites as well. It's an exciting place. So on to the next slide, Roshan, if you wouldn't mind, and we can, and then there we go. Now that's our concept of our waterfront properties. Now we're actually incorporating this high roof, and across the waterfront there's 4 of these waterfront bungalows, and in Vanuatu, boutique resorts are most sought after. We have over 85-90% occupancy. But I can see on the other side of coronavirus, we're going to get absolutely booked out because even just here last week, Australia and New Zealand started flying backwards and forwards between each other. On I think it was Monday, they had 5,000 people fly to New Zealand. So that, I haven't got the figures for the whole week, but I'll have them next week. So people have been tied up, been locked down, frustrated, looking for a holiday. And the South Pacific is a safe environment. Vanuatu has not had 1 case of coronavirus community to community. So that's a wonderful achievement from the rest of the world, So moving on from that, these 1-bedroom bungalows, of course, are perfect for people to come and have a holiday. Now, we've got a joint venture, which Darren Pacific Haven Resort, which is the development company that I'm a director of, was approached by Giuseppe Pacelli and Darren Younger in 2019, November, December. And Giuseppe and Darren said, look, why don't we fly over, have a look at the site, and would you be interested in incorporating Bricklets into your project in Vanuatu? And, of course, I could see the future of Bricklets being very, very bright. Now, Darren just said they've sold $20 million worth of, or in 12 months or something of a pandemic lockdown, they've sold $20 million worth of Bricklets. That's just the writing on the wall. Bricklet is approved by ASIC. I think it's just it's a way of the future, and I can see it only going from strength to strength, mainly because they are on the lands title. And in Vanuatu, our lands department, we can have 30 people because we have a thing called horizontal strata rather than a vertical strata. So we can have 30 people on the strata title of the land and bungalow, and then when they purchase, they have a 2% stamp duty and 5% registration fee on their $20,000 if it's a waterfront, or $15,300. The body corporate is also divided by the 30 people as well. So the cost, or the maintenance cost, is quite low. And our company, Pacific Haven Resort, and the company is provided on a 10-year leaseback. An investor, it's perfect. You don't have to worry whether it's rented or whether it's not rented. It's fully managed 24 hours a day, 7 days. Might move on to the next slide if we may, Roshan. Okay, well, this is a little bit about Bricklet. I mean, starting building your property future with Bricklet, I think I can see the Australian public really taking this. Darren touched on it just quietly, but here in Australia, just last week, a piece of property which was sold in November for 1.2 million was resold for 2.3 million, land value alone. So you can't buy a property in Australia, basically in Sydney, under $1 million now, and there's 60 suburbs in Australia where where the values of them are over $3 million. So people will be looking to the South Pacific because it's still affordable at this point of time, but I can see it changing very quickly. Next slide. Right. So, actually looking back, bungalows, each it has title. This piece of land has power connected and town water connected, but also will have a rainwater tank and also solar as well. And all the grey water will be processed through what they call a biosystem. So it'll be an ecological type of development at the same time, ecotourism, and also an adventure resort at the same time. So you might move to the next slide now, if you may, Roshan. So basically, real property owned in fragments by individuals is what Bricklets is all about. I'm 1,000% behind it. I think it gives people an ideal opportunity to be able to get into the property market. And you can actually scale up. You can buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could buy every Bricklet if you wanted to. That's up to you to make your decision as far as that's concerned. So it's just like buying shares in a company on the share market, and you're actually buying property in the Bricklets. And of course, you can move in and move out, increase your holdings or decrease your holdings whenever you wish, which is fantastic, without having to sell the whole property. I think that's a really big marketing and selling feature to investors as well. And of course, obviously, you could have 2 or 3 Bricklets in our project in Vanuatu, and 2 or 3 in a project in Australia as well, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, wherever it happens to be. So moving on to the next slide, if we may, Roshan. So Vanuatu is an absolute paradise. It has an amazing attraction. The water is so clear. It also so clean. It's a very, very clean place. The coastline has absolutely no pollution. 83 islands, archipelago of 83 islands. And some of those islands, when you go out there, they're just quite amazing. All the islands actually have a different frame to them. It's quite amazing. Now, the Vanuatu government has also just completed 3 new tarmacs in Vanuatu. So we have one on the island of Afate, where Port Vila is, one on Tanna Island, which is where the volcano is, and one on Espirito Santo Island, which is the largest island. So a little bit like Hawaii, you can actually mix and match and you can go island hopping and stuff like that with Vanuatu. So amazing attraction for people coming in from all around the world at this point of time. The next slide should show you basically the diving company, I think, that we're involved with. We could move on to that. No, sorry, we're talking about the bungalows. 23 one-bedroom bungalows, 70 square meters under roof. They come fully furnished. Some of them are coming with plunge pools and sun decks as well. They'll be fully managed and looked after by the on-site management, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How the management is set up, we're providing a lease back of 7%, but all the small parts of looking after the project will be covered by the management. So if you've got to change an electric bulb, we'll be supplying the towels, all those sorts of things will be looked after by the on-site management 24 hours a day. And of course, the body corporate is then managed by a management team as well. The resort facilities, the 40-seater licensed restaurant and bar with reception, a unique restaurant opportunity we have some amazing French flavoured restaurants in Vanuatu. In Port Vila, we've got about 45 restaurants. And the French influence is actually showing up in most of the cooking. But all our fish is fresh out of the water, out of the bay, as a matter of fact, that morning. The spa will be there for the ladies to have their frangipani massages and stone massages. And also, of course, the sea deck. You can see a picture there on the ground floor. Top right-hand corner, you can see a picture of the freestanding Pro Dive development. Academy. One of the things about the Scuba Diving Academy, which is quite unique. Actually trained 400,000 divers over this period of time. Which is an amazing figure. And also has taken unstable connection. Can you move on to the next slide, Roshan?
Yes.
Okay, well, here's some figures for you. The one-bedroom bungalows and land, there's 30 of them in each offering. 15,333 for the garden bungalow, 7% contracted return. With the waterfronts, there's only 4 waterfronts for sale. And again, there's 30 opportunities and they're 20,000 each with a projected return, or not a contracted return, I should say, of 7% per annum. Now, we also have included a VIP club for our owners as well, which we'll talk about shortly. The properties themselves are designed to exclusive. They have their own entranceway, and this is the sort of holiday destination that people are looking for. And we'll have, as I said, 23 one-bedroom bungalows on the first stage, plus the 3 commercial sites. Can we move on to the next slide, Roshan? Okay, these are the people that are involved with Bricklets. Mirvac, which is one of the largest companies in Australia and Stockland, very, very well known. And these, of course, are the other companies, the accountants and lawyers, and they're involved with Microsoft and BDO and Lakiva, of course. Lakiva, which I might blow the trumpet for Darren, is last Friday, our prestigious financial review paper here voted them one of the top 10 high-tech companies in Australia as far as growth is concerned. And I think they're closer to number 1 than number 10, to be frank with you, but maybe Darren can expand on that when he comes back on in this presentation. Moving on to the next slide. Well, we have a VIP club that we've set up because people are saying, well, look, if I'm going to invest in Bricklets and I'm going to invest in a resort in Vanuatu, obviously I want to come and use it. So you're getting a contracted return of 7% per annum. So what we've done is put a VIP club together so that for the first 12 months, you will get 50% off the room rate when you come for a holiday. Year 2 to year 10, you get 20% off the room rate. You'll get free transfers to and from the airport when you arrive and when you depart. You get 10% off the food and beverage. And there'll be other advantages that we'll be able to provide to our investors as well, to our Bricklet buyers as well, such as, discounts on the scuba gear hiring, tours, etc. Anything we can give our investors a discount on, we'll certainly be giving it to them. And of course, obviously, the other thing is if there's any late avails, if there's any group that had to cancel because they're all getting married and the husband changed their mind or the wife changed their mind or whatever, and they can't go, well, we have to fill up that booking. We will then offer it out very, very quickly to our existing database as well. So for people living in Australia, we're only 2 hours flight from Brisbane, 3 hours flight from Sydney. We're about 3.5 hours flight from New Zealand, 8.5 hours flight from Hong Kong, Singapore. Those are my details there if you wish to reach out to me and at any time, and I'll be happy to have a one-on-one chat with you.
Thanks, Richard. Welcome back to the chat. Everyone, whoever's watching, please put in your questions for either Richard or Darren on the YouTube comments or on the Facebook comments, and we'll take them. We have a few questions here. I will kind of parcel them out. First question, I will say, because Darren, we'll let Richard rest because he's been talking for 10 minutes. So I think the first question will go to you. So the first question is coming from Rohit. I've put it up on screen. Is, how different is Bricklets from realty?
I'm not actually, I don't actually know the realty platform. So apologies, I can't answer that.
Right. So I'm guessing, Darren, that the question is more around. So I've heard of realty. It's a kind of blockchain enabled platform. I don't know the nitty-gritties too well, but I think the platform primarily uses blockchain to kind of manage this fractional ownership.
Right.
So have you guys?
Like I said, I mean, if the question is, if I could answer it in a way that is, what's the difference around, or how do we actually use the blockchain as part of the platform? Maybe that's an easier way to answer it. And that is, so we use it for the ledger component. So it's not blockchain in the sense of, we have tokens that you can buy, and that's part of the property. It's in fact, you don't even see the blockchain, from the front end, from the user experience. It's actually used for the ledger. So, we can track, we have a blockchain for understanding. So you can see that the history of each bricklet. So if I give it a simple example, and the reason that we do that is because if you looked at the land title, which is obviously that central point of truth, around the bricklets and who owns them, right? So if I owned a bricklet today and then I transferred, I sold to you, Roshan, then if you looked at the land title today, you would see your name on it, but you wouldn't see anything about the history and the transfer. And so that's what gets recorded on the blockchain.
Got it. The other question, Darren, is coming from Leonard, and his question is, how is fractional different from timeshare? I know you might have gotten this many times before, but
it's a good question.
This new question.
Yeah, sure. I guess, the difference is that you actually are owning a piece of the property. The difference, I guess, with timeshare is that, with that ownership under a timeshare model, all the owners of that property are the ones that are sharing in the accommodation, where this is very different. So you own a piece of that, you own a piece of the bungalow or a piece of the property, and people are staying there, so it's you own a piece of that investment, as opposed to you own a piece of something that you're sharing with other people around the accommodation.
Right. Darren, also, I want to highlight that what you are calling timeshare is, deeded timeshare, which is prevalent in Australia, etc. In most of Asia, the timeshare here is not deeded. So, like let's say in the Southeast Asia or India or the Middle East, etc., timeshare gives you zero ownership. It's only right to use, and it's a diminishing return product. It's guaranteed to go to zero in value at the end of the tenure of the timeshare. Versus, with fractional ownership,
Sure.
in most cases, it's an appreciating investment because you are investing in a share. You have shared ownership of a real asset.
Yeah.
The other question here is from Herman. The question is basically, what diligence does Bricklet do on the opportunities before they come to the website?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, we do some due diligence around the actual projects, but what we don't do is, it's a software platform at the end of the day, right? It's a marketplace. So, we're not looking at whether the investment is a good investment or whether the property is a good property to buy from an investment point of view. But we do have a level of due diligence that we do around the making sure that the vendor is real, that the property is real. So there's a lot of due diligence that goes around that piece, but it's not around, whether it's a good investment or not. We let the market decide that.
Got it. The other two questions I think are for Richard. So Richard, if you had a break, the questions from Stephen, and you mentioned that there are 30 fractional options. So his question is, can one person buy an entire bungalow, and do you have larger than 1-bedroom options? Like, do you have a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom bungalow option?
In our first 23 bungalows, they're all 1-bedrooms. We will be bringing in some 3-bedrooms closer to the end of the 1-bedroom sellout. But yeah, you could buy the whole bungalow. You could buy the whole bricklets, 30 bricklets, and then of course, if you ever wanted to downsize, most people, when they have to take a bit of profit out, they've got to sell their property to realise a profit. Whereas with bricklets, you could say have 30 bricklets, and then it's going to go up in value. It's waterfront land. What increases the value of any property is the income that it's actually earning. So the better job we do managing with a higher occupancy factor increases the value of the property. So therefore, say, for example, they bought it today, the full amount, and then in 5 years' time, it had gone up 25%, 30% in value. They could sell 25% or 30% of the bricklets, still retain the other 70% and take cash out of the actual investment itself without losing ownership of a substantial amount of the property itself. So there's a mix and a match that can happen there as well. But yes, there will be some other plans being offered for larger bungalows, obviously at higher cost than what we're starting here at the present time in the near future.
Right. Darren, this question is coming from Melvin. His question is primarily that Bricklets has various options. I'm guessing, residential, industrial, commercial, vacation properties, etc. What have you seen as trends, as in which properties are show the best appreciation, show the best yield and things like that?
Yeah, good question. One that I don't really answer very well because I'm a technology person, not a property person, right? So, like I was saying about the properties, it's exactly the same. We don't give property advice. We're not a research house around the properties, but what we do is we provide the platform for that. We obviously want to, provide as much information via the vendors and via any researchers as we can. But what I could tell you is that, the properties that are sold very well through the Bricklet platform are ones that have got good returns and have got good potential capital growth.
Got it. The next question comes from Aloysius D'Souza, and his question is there any service charge when the individual decides to sell his bricklet?
Yeah, so the only charge that we have on the sell side is a 1% fee. So let's say you sold it for $25,000, it would be a $250 fee for that, and again, it just covers that administration process that we need to do, and the update of the transfer and the land title.
Got it. And this question is, I think, Richard, you can take this. So, what's the approximate payout for for if someone is just to buy a single fraction? So
with the return.
What would he get in terms of monthly returns?
Well, the contracted arrangement with the operating manager is a 7% return. So whatever number of bricklets they buy, it's a 7% return at that point of time. So that's what it basically is. And also the cost. Remembering the cost of the body corporate, the cost of the fees divided by 30 shareholders. So it's quite an easy investment to maintain. It doesn't have a large like timeshare, for example. Timeshare has quite a large amount of fees because they have to clean it. The next person comes in. There's a lot of maintenance. That's actually all taken care by the operator. So they'll get 7%. Net, and then the operator will look after the small maintenance of the actual bungalows themselves.
Got it. Richard, Vanuatu as a government also offers citizenship by investment in real estate developments. Do you want to touch a little bit on that, and what's the minimum quantum and of investment that then entitles people to a Vanuatu passport and things like that?
It's currently time with
Sorry, Richard, I think we are losing you there. Darren, can you hear Richard?
No, he's frozen.
Yeah, okay. I think the flip side of living in some beautiful places is that you may not have the best internet. So we'll just let Richard come back, and
I'm back.
Yeah,
I seem to have lost my signal there for a while.
Yeah, Richard, we were just saying that it's probably the flip side of living in nice exotic places.
Yes. So the passports and citizenship, the Vanuatu government brought it in a couple of years ago. They've actually sold 4,000 passports in 2 years. Where the government's doing about 70 a month, and they're going to be bringing in a real estate option with a passport in the very near future. I can't give you more about it at the moment, but as soon as it comes out, I will advise. But many people like Vanuatu, and we haven't touched this one thing, which is quite important. Vanuatu also is a tax haven. It's tax friendly. There's no income tax personal. There's no corporate tax for a company. There's no death duties. There's no gift tax. And there's also no capital gains tax. But there is a 15% VAT tax, value added tax. So this makes it very attractive to people to invest in Vanuatu, because you can basically allow your investment to roll over, keep gaining income for you, and then when you bring your funds back into your mother country, of course, obviously you have to then advise them of the income, and you talk to your own accountant about that. But many people are interested at the moment, especially with with what's happened in the last 12 months, where you don't have to work in an office anymore. If you've got a laptop, you can work anywhere in the world. And we have 5G in Vanuatu as well. So we're only 49 milliseconds away from the international markets of, London, Paris, Beijing, China, Shanghai. You can communicate. Citizenship, 130,000 USD for a single.
Right.
And 150,000 for under the ages of 18. It's 15,000 a child, and grandparents 20,000.
Right. Richard, the next question is from Shesh, and his question is, the 7% is from the income. What about the appreciation of the property? So how does the investor benefit from that, or does the 7% include the appreciation?
No, it doesn't. The 7% is the rental return. The appreciation is in the value of the property as it goes up. And then, of course, Darren can perhaps maybe explain how Bricklets handles that when they go to resell it. Because obviously, if you bought it in 2021 and you sell it in 2031, it's gone up in value. So you would go back to Bricklets. And do you want to cover that point, Darren?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, to answer the first question, I think it was around whether, it was a net return. And so, for that particular property, it is 7% net return. So it means that it is 7% after the expenses. So that's a really good value add. And then, that's just your, like Richard said, so that's your monthly ongoing return that will come into your Bricklet account every month. And then let's say you buy the Bricklet for 15,500, and then in however long it is, and if you want to sell it for $20,000, well then that's on top of your 7% return. So any capital growth that you receive through that property over the time is on top of the 7% per annum. So if you think about the 7% per annum is that ongoing yield, and that's cash into your wallet.
Right, absolutely. And it's coming from a property management perspective. I want to share with Shesh why this is possible. I would invite you to visit Wikipedia and look at Vanuatu and see the per capita income, and you will realize that it's a country with one of the lowest cost of living and operating costs in the world, and surrounded by two of the highest per capita income large countries in Asia, in the Asia Pacific region. So it benefits from high spenders in close proximity, beautiful weather, and very, very low operating costs. Correct me if I'm wrong, Richard.
No, that's right, and we're open 52 weeks of the year, because when it's cold in the northern hemisphere, it's beautiful in Vanuatu. When it's cold in the southern hemisphere, it's beautiful in Vanuatu. So we can draw from both hemispheres people who are wanting to escape the cold weather, and of course that's an incredible attraction. I must also add that one thing, that our average tourist stays 10 or 11 days, and almost as many as 65% is a returning holiday maker as well. So this isn't a place where people just go for a weekend. They go for 7 or 8, 9, 10 days at a time, and they're quite happy to do that. And we also have a very high percentage of couples, married couples, honeymooners, second honeymooners, and of course that's where the scuba diving academy is going to come in, because the people who do scuba dive tend to be of a higher income earner than the average income in Western world.
Well, with this, sorry, Darren, were you saying something?
Sorry. No, yeah. I was going to answer the next question. I think you put it up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, just to clarify the amount, because there was a couple of questions around the so how much actually does that mean? So for the 15,500, so if you think about 7% of that is just over $1,000, it's $1,085. So that's how much you would get as a return per year, and obviously you're getting that on a monthly basis as well. So you divide that by 12.
Right. Great, Darren. Thank you. I think that was the other question that many people had was it paid monthly or was it paid annually? So it's paid monthly. Well, with this, I think we are reaching the end of our time, and we generally like to stick to an hour. So I would like to invite people. Of course, they can send in your questions to your relationship manager at Holiday Home Times or write to the editors. I'd like to thank Richard and Darren for taking the time out on their day off for doing this. Exposing us to a very unique country and unique opportunities in halfway around the world. I'm sure that many of our investors already trust Australia as a jurisdiction, and know that you are one of the pioneers in the strata title and offer one of the best titles available across the globe, and that's a great incentive to invest and get regular returns in a currency that that is stable and is appreciating. Thank you both for taking the time out to do this, and we will collate whoever's interested, send them to you directly, and or people can go directly to the Bricklet website and connect with you. With this, we will leave with a small video on Holiday Home Times. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.